All right, hello. This is Oliver's Spooky Stories, narrated by me, Oliver. Today we'll be reading Aunt Bee's Backyard, written by yours truly. So here we go. I had a dream the night my sister disappeared. An old man, maybe in his 70s or 80s, and another person too dark to make out, sat inside a black box room. Warm light and fog oozed out while large green plants cluttered the inside, their expansive wing-like leaves heaving up and down. The old man sat completely still in a rocking chair. His head hung low, like a mourning corpse, and his body leaned over. The figure across from him wore dark clothes, black rubber gloves, and a gas mask strapped to its face. The haze clung to their clothes while orange light suffocated their bodies. I remember one of the figure's gloves seeming to jump alive, its neck weighed down by the mask craned up towards the old man. It had my voice. "Dad?" he asked. The old man's body sat unresponsive. The figure called again. "Dad, is that you?" Wheezing breath sputtered out of the old man's mouth, his back and chest rising and falling with each inhale. His head raised, exposing wrinkle after wrinkle of withering skin until his neck completely straightened. A smile crept across his face at the sight of the figure. "Dad," the mask responded in relief. The figure pulled off one of his gloves, unsheathing pale, veiny skin. He reached out towards the old man and stopped, hand shaking in place. The figure's groans seemed to echo through his mask as slits crawled through the exposed hand, splitting open into green, gaping wounds. He quaked and moaned until his body shut down, dropping the still and lifeless hand into his lap. The old man kept staring. Something shut downstairs. Blue spots danced through the bedroom as I tried to adjust my eyes to the small bit of moonlight cutting through the tree branches outside. I don't need to see to grab the flashlight in the drawer of the nightstand. This may be it. All our worries may be over. It's been 2 weeks since Ray went missing. We haven't seen each other since we had to leave home. I went to college and Aunt Bee and Uncle Kenny took her into custody. Now she's almost out of high school. When we were younger, Ray and I always hated coming to Aunt Bee's. Bugs crawled around your feet in bed, at least that's what I thought. And you were never allowed to play in the woods, or Aunt Bee's backyard as I called it. It's too deep, Mom would say. Even on trips I remember Dad being there for, it still felt uncomfortably tense the entire time. I came back to see Ray. 2 days later, she's gone. The basement door croaks open. Its handle bursts into yellow from the flashlight's beam. A light breeze flows through, revealing the dark, swaying trees against the cool night outside. My feet lightly slap against the soft, cool concrete as I leave the basement, having found nothing throughout the rest of the house. The tips of my fingers barely make contact with the door and it swings open on its own. The trips to Aunt Bee's only got worse when Mom and Dad split up. I think we went often because Uncle Kenny invited us a lot, knowing Mom didn't have many friends. Aunt Bee always had presents and treats waiting for Ray, but I had to ask permission for any special treatment. When I arrived 2 weeks ago, I could tell in her eyes and voice she was very uncomfortable about me being there, probably because of Ray, but she kept her wide, glossy smile. Ray's like the daughter Aunt Bee never had, and in her eyes I'm a threat to that. Grass caresses the inside of my toes, wiping away the sweat. The flashlight shines like a blanket over the deep woods, unable to penetrate through the gate of dark, towering trees. Nothing moves besides the swaying of branches outstretched before me and the gliding circle of light hovering on top of them. My wrist eases and the circle of light lowers towards the earth. A white figure leaps between 2 trees in front of me. My wrist stiffens back up. Wind brushes up against my shirt and I feel the moist stains graze under my armpits. Her name dangles in a whisper on my tongue. I take a step forward. A young silhouette sitting by the smeared and tinted windows in the shed appears illuminated at the burst of a warm, flickering light. She wears a gown made of a tough, itchy-looking cloth. Her eyes gaze forward, jaw slacked and lips parted. She doesn't look up or seem to recognize another person in the shed. A single candle sits in the lamp next to her. "Ray?" No response. I sit down trying to meet her expressionless gaze and ask, "Where were you?" I reach out and lay my hand on top of hers, expecting it to be cold. It's lifeless yet warm. "Ray?" I let go. Her lower lip twitches. It was warm. I'm trying to study her face. Her eyes shift from side to side so I know she's thinking. I was in a rocking chair, behind leaves. She swallows dryly. Hard to see anything. "It's okay," I say. "Ray, you can tell me it's all right." I smile, hoping for a similar response. Her eyes find the right words. I couldn't taste, no smell. I think someone was with me, something on their face. The words seem to fall out of her mouth. I lower my head and feel the veins in my forearms chugging like pistons. My teeth nibble against the tip of my tongue. A gas mask she lets out. The air seems to freeze. as a memory taps behind my eyes, and her neck tenses as she lifts her head, her eyes gliding up until they reach mine. Dad. Her eyes, they seem so helpless. Ray, I'm Simon. I'm your brother Simon, remember? I lean in a little so she can see my face more clearly, but her eyes remain connected to mine. You, she says. Yes, I smile. Yes, it's me, Simon, your brother. Where were you, she asks. Her eyes gaze directly into me, focusing into fear and disgust. I've never seen her look at me that way. What? Her eyes hold still. When Dad died, where were you? The floor drops from under me. Something swimming inside. Something swimming deep inside begins crawling up. I think about the last time I saw Dad and reading Ray's note about his funeral in my dorm room. I remember the last time I saw Mom at the trial, walking out of the court with Ray in one case. I remember leaving Ray at the airport where Aunt Bee and Uncle Kenny waited, driving away as she turned toward me with wet lips and desperate eyes. Her body starts to move, scooting away into the wall behind her. She looks repulsed by me. Why'd you leave me? She says with hate in her eyes. I'm looking for anything to say, anything to just reach out and hug her. My throat clenches into a choke. I blink and everything distorts like a rain-swept window. I start to move forward and her body instantly crams itself further into the wooden corner, her neck craned over. I've never seen her so scared. The paramedics lift Ray into the ambulance. The door shuts and the flashing blue and red lights fade away, leaving Aunt Bee and Uncle Kenny's huddled silhouettes swallowed by the surrounding darkness. They go back inside eventually, leaving me on my own. I can't stop picturing Dad in front of me. If I could just see him again, just for a moment of closure, then maybe I'll know how to get Ray back. Trade one mistake for another. I could convince her I'm not who she thinks I am, and everything that's happened hasn't been my fault. I'll promise not to leave her again. Pink plumes above as the sun creeps out. The night disappears and violet blue coats the house. The woods continue resting, still, dark, and unaltered by the change of day. The bodies of the trees line together like a large wall or doorway. It starts to make more sense. What could Ray see in me now that would make her want to come back? She knows me exactly for who I am. Maybe Aunt Bee knew all along too. My body turns toward beckoning tree limbs. I take a step, my bare foot crunching on the dried leaves and earth below. I take another and another until I'm engulfed in shadow and the smell of oak. I keep walking. All right, that's it. Thanks for hanging with me. Adios.